development, though, is I want the community to get involved in training police officers. The implicit bias that occurs must be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Daly.
Thank you. This is the single biggest issue facing our city. If we don't get this right and get it under control, the future of our city, economic future, and all the other things we hope to accomplish are very difficult to happen. So we must pull together. I do believe that the vast majority of the men and women in the police department go out every day to do the right thing for us and protect us. There's no doubt in my mind about that. There are mistakes. We're going to have a consent decree. The important part of that consent decree is training. I've called for that training schedule to be moved up so we have 40 hours in the first year of this consent decree. So the men and women of the police department become more professional. The key to any profession is to be retrained. We have failed over the years to the men and women of the police department to train them in the ways of better policing. So there's no question, this is the issue right now for all of us, and in every neighborhood of this city, no matter what the crime statistics are, people feel unsafe. And if you feel and perceive there's a crime problem in your neighborhood, there is. So we've got to get it right. We've got to have new leadership, and I'm looking forward as mayor to provide that leadership.
Tony Preckwinkle.
If we're going to address the challenges in the police department and police-community relations, we have to do three things. We have to create a mayor's office of criminal justice, and we have to focus on accountability and effectiveness. A criminal justice office with a broad mandate, similar to the county's Justice Advisory Council, would be responsible for policy, grants administration, and working with stakeholders. On the accountability front, we need to hold the police department accountable. We need to implement the consent decree, which focuses on more professional development, more training for our officers, and proper supervision. Best practice is 1 sergeant for every 8 to 10 officers. In some of our districts, we have 1 sergeant for every 30 officers. But we got deep-seated issues with trust in black and brown neighborhoods in the police department. As each of my kids got to be a teenager, I sat down with them and had the talk. And it wasn't about sex. It was about how you deal with police on the street. You're always respectful. You say, "No, sir." You say, "Yes, ma'am." You never argue. You keep your hands where the police can see them. If they take you to the police station, you call me. Every black and brown parent that I know has had that conversation with their kids. White parents don't have those conversations. Many of our communities view police as more likely to be harassers than helpers. Where closure rates for murders are less than 20%, for shootings less than 10%, we have to have a more effective police department. We have to focus police resources on violent crimes in the communities where violence is so much of a challenge.
Susanna Mendoza.
Thank you. This is personal to me as it is to every person that lives in the city of Chicago. I know what it's like to be that 7-year-old kid who's afraid to walk to school. And as much as I love learning, it's hard to learn when you're working, you're more concerned about the walk back home and if you're going to make it home safe. Every parent in this city needs to have an expectation that when we send our kids out the door, they're going to make it home safely. At the same time, we need to properly train and resource our police officers to be able to do their job and to know how to handle any situation that they walk into. No officer should have to wait for a taser to defuse a situation. And the fact of the matter is, I will implement the consent decree because it's the absolute first step to moving this situation forward where we can rebuild trust between the communities that the police serve and protect and the people who expect that level of service and respect back. Now, third, we have to acknowledge that police are just dealing with the symptom of crime. We have to attack the root cause of crime, of violence to begin with. And that is investing in our communities, investing in our children, doubling down where people think that we should walk away. We need to invest in those kids and make sure that they know that they are not hopeless. We will help them, and we will get them and their parents back into a situation where they can be productive members of society and looking forward to climbing that economic ladder of success. Now, fourth, that is why I believe so strongly in my 50 New Initiative program that will create those wraparound services to deal not just with the children, but with their parents as well. Thank you.
Yuri Chico.
The single greatest threat to the future of Chicago is getting a hold of the crime and safety problems that are plaguing our communities. I have called for a change in leadership in the Chicago Police Department because I think we have failed to give people that security that they want. How could we, in this current environment, have decimated community policing? I was part of the mayor's office that brought community policing into me in the early 90s. and it radically changed the way the police dealt with the community. We sat down at the beat level, we had communications, we had meetings, we built trust, and a lot of information was shared back and forth. We have to get back to that. But make no mistake about it, people are being shot and people are dying because of the guns, and the illegal guns that flood into our city. I have called out Indiana, I have called out Wisconsin for their lax gun laws and oversight. 60% of the shootings in Chicago can be traced to guns coming over the borders illegally. And I've even gotten into a Twitter war with the mayor of Hammond about this. We need to hold people accountable. But we also have to make sure that we are offering opportunities for people to work. Safe haven, safer. So many organizations have offered people a chance to work again and get on the right path, and that's the path that I'm going to take as mayor.
Willie Wilson.
Well, again, let me just say this as related to the police department and making things right. We should be able to put in at least 4 superintendents of police so they can divide the section of the city up. And it should reflect diversity. Right now, we don't have many police officers in homicide. Minority. People call, we put the police department with the Caucasian up at top, everybody else at the bottom. Our own police department, white, black, Latino, got issue among themselves because they cannot get promoted. You know, that's an issue within itself right there. Police stop me, I'm nervous my own self. And so it's wrong. And then too, you get tired of people that's stopping you because of the color of your skin. You get sick and tired of it, right? We have to change the thing. We got to make sure that the police department is diversified. You cannot train a person not to be racist, but you certainly can put them together to communicate together in cars and things of that nature. But you certainly can take the police cars and buy them from some of the people minority. You can buy the gasoline from minority.
Thank you. Gary McCarthy.
It starts with truth telling. And you cannot have a legitimate police department underneath an illegitimate government. We've got to do away with the Chicago way. And we've got to have some very difficult discussions. And speaking of truth telling, the first truth that everybody needs to know is that the department and the detective division are at the highest head counts that they've been in 10 years. That is not the problem. We need to have a discussion, a very difficult discussion about race. We need to talk about how we got here to figure out where we're going to go. We have to talk about slavery, black codes, segregation, Jim Crow, redlining. That's what put us in this position. And I love when people talk about restoring trust. You can't restore something you never had.
You're right about that.
And the distrust is not just about the police, it's about the system because of the politicians who have been running this city for decades. We're accustomed to be lying to. We know the path to correct this. President Obama in 2014 put together the 21st Century Task Force of social scientists, police chiefs, community activists to go around the country and collect best practices. When they published their recommendations, 90+% of those recommendations were being done here. The result was we had the lowest murder rates in this city since 1965. Crime was down, as were complaints against officers. We know how to do it. It's written down.
This has been a very stimulating and thoughtful conversation, and thanks to all the candidates. We now have come to the time where we're going to close.